I want to introduce Brian Deaver today as my guest. He is the creator of things and lover of people, and I believe that is just such a true characterization. I was privileged to work with Brian at two different organizations. He is currently the president and CMO of Gigg. I knew him met him originally as the SVP at McCann. He was head creative director for accounts like Verizon. After that, went and started his own little agency, or helped start a smaller agency, and I eventually came over there and worked with him. He worked on accounts like Adobe, Avaya, which we ran together for several years, TE Connectivity. Brian's the founder of a music festival, or a co-founder of a music festival, Fort Desolation, and also started a whiskey brand, Black Feather. I just want to welcome my guest and UVU marketing board member, Brian Deaver.
Thanks, Gary. Excited to be here with you.
Brian, in the context here at the university, you've been here, you've just done a guest lecture with my class. Thank you so much. It was great. What did you study in college?
I actually studied marketing and communications and design. So I actually went here for a little bit, finished up over at BYU, did a freshman year at Appalachian State University, Boone, North Carolina. Back in the motherland.
You're letting that accent go a little bit there.
I didn't get a lot of studying done back there that freshman year, but it was beautiful. It
Nice.
was such a fun place to be. But yeah, I studied marketing and design. I knew I wanted to go into advertising out of college, and I originally started as poli-sci major. Did that for a little bit and realized it just wasn't a match for my skill sets and how my brain kind of ticks and everything. So I quickly found the wonderful world of advertising and switched to that. And at the time, I did some design classes here at UVU, and then at BYU I did quite a few. There wasn't really a design emphasis for the advertising program at the time. They came out with the ad lab a couple years after I left. So it was an interesting process. I had to basically go and interview and show my portfolio to every design teacher that I wanted to take their class and earn enough credits to get the minor. So that was an interesting process. The Brim Hall building, where all the design process were a little standoffish at times, but yeah. I made it through somehow, and then went straight into, advertising and design.
Is that the creative crowd mean kids, or what's going on there? Sometimes when they get together in big groups, it's like if you're not if they don't see you as one of the cool kids, that can be a tough.
Yeah, coming from the other, we were over in the, cross campus in a different building for all the comms programs. So walking across campus and going into there, you just weren't one of them. But I guess my work was good enough at the time. I look back at some of it, I'm like, I have no idea how I got into some of these classes, but they let me in, and I did the coursework, and it gave me a springboard from there, for sure.
As a parent of several kids, how have you advised your kids about whether to seek a college degree or not?
Interesting. My oldest is graduating in 2 weeks, and 2 weeks from today. And she is at BYU. She's in the business program, but she's doing the marketing track. And she's a smart kid, and she has so many great natural abilities that I just didn't have at her age. And at first I was a little worried that she was going into the marketing world, because I've seen the good and the bad through it all. But I feel like for her, it has been such a great journey in not only the rigor of going through college and just completing the coursework and the stress and the pressure and the life skills that it creates for you, but knowing that you have that sense of accomplishment, that you did it, and you did it at a high level, right? Yeah. Which I think, and she's always been a very competitive, self-driven person. So I think it's just a natural progression and step for her.
The alternative to that, I mean, was there ever a moment where you or for any of your kids, maybe not her, the way you describe her, she sounds like she's really thrived in an academic setting. Are there any of your kids where you sort of looked at college and said, maybe you should pursue a different track to get to realize your skills and play into your strengths?
Yeah, I'm curious. I have 4 kids. One will start here actually in the fall, and then our third child is special needs, so she won't do higher ed. Mm-hmm. And then our youngest, though, he's 14. He just turned 14. He is a very passionate kid, and he is into cooking right now. He just loves cooking, and he's been into it for about a year and a half. And he just on Monday night he fixed gourmet steaks for about 20 people, and he's just really into it. And it's interesting. I'm curious to see where his path leads him, whether he'll go the traditional university route or if he'll go to a culinary school. Yeah. But at least for us and our family, education has always been a driver that, it's something that we are constantly learning in this life in all facets of our lives. Yeah. And universities are a great way for us to advance as people and advance in the community and advance in culture and everything else. In
the guest lecture you just gave to a big group of my students, you talked about embracing limitations. Was there ever a pivotal moment in your career journey where you had to embrace limitations or even, change directions and adapt? Or, talk to me about this business, this conviction you have about embracing limitations.
I mean, I feel like I embrace limitations with every creative project I take on, and that's a good thing, yeah. Right? It's part of the enjoyment of the creative process. One example I shared briefly in the class was, as I was kind of being promoted and early in my career, I realized I was getting to that point to where I was managing more work, I was managing more people, and yet I was still holding on to wanting to do everything. And it was that hard realization that I can't do it all, and frankly, I shouldn't do it all because there's so many other people around me that are better than me. And as a creative, I feel like that's a hard pill for a lot of creatives to swallow, is to admit that somebody else can design better than you or illustrate better than you or can handle typography better than you. But I am glad that I swallowed that pill. I feel like there's still plenty of days, in recent days that I still swallow that pill where I have to say delegating is more important than ownership. And as I continually learn that, it just opens up new avenues for me to learn. The company I'm with now is smaller. We're definitely smaller than McCann where we were together. Mm-hmm. And so I realized I'm wearing more hats. I enjoy that. But at the same time, it's that balance of where do I hand off projects, trust and empower others to do it, versus feeling like I have to hold on to it myself, maybe overwhelm myself with the amount of work that's on my plate to ensure that it has the output that I want. I learned, and I think you and I kind of learned from some of the same experiences, but sometimes we as people and others can push, and you can create 30% extra work for 5% different output. Yeah. And I've learned that the emotional toil that puts on yourself and definitely on the people that you're managing is not worth it. And so trying to let go of that is definitely something that, is always kind of top of mind and constantly adjusting and adapting to.
So you're a humble guy. I had the pleasure of working under you when you were both chief creative officer but the president of an agency. And did it ever occur to you that you were doing creative responsibilities, and I would see that struggle you had of like, I know I could probably do this brand guidelines faster and better than maybe some of my people, but I'm also the president. That struggle of getting out of the weeds and seeing the forest for the trees is, I think, a common struggle of moving up the echelons, up the ranks. But did it ever occur to you, and have you taken satisfaction from being really exceptional at leading and creating cohesive environments for other people to thrive in?
Well, thanks for saying that. I've always wanted work to be a place that people felt secure and safe and had fun at, right? And so I think we've had some fun days in our days, right?
Yes.
A few parties here and there,
Yes.
and different types of little, off-sites and whatever it may be. We talked about the hero's journey in the class just now, and we are all on our own hero's journey, and we all need that guide in our paths to help us along through it. And I think that's the real beauty of leadership, is knowing when you need to be that guide for others, and when you need to ask to have that guide, where you've maybe hit that unknown world and you're going through the thick of it,
Yeah.
and you really need some help to kind of get through it.
Yeah. In your career and your own hero's journey, what has been more important for you as a leader? Your hard skills, your soft skills, the balance?
I would 100% say soft skills. It's what I feel like I've always valued more than hard skills in others, and where I really look for certain qualities in people when I'm interviewing and hiring. The way that they can communicate, way they can resolve problems, resolve conflict, how they can have crucial conversations with others, their work ethic. Those are the things that are hard to teach sometimes, because you've got decades and decades of life experiences that have kind of wired people a certain way.
Yeah. Speaking of decades and decades of experience, you have I think a really unique career journey, because for me, it took multiple agencies and lots of in-house branding assignments and product to work up to become a VP at a Madison Avenue agency, McCann. It was such a pinnacle for me. You kind of went right there and started there, and have since elected to go to smaller and smaller opportunities. I heard you in class today say something interesting in response to a student question about, if I want to go into advertising, what should I do? For someone with your background and experiences, and I characterize you as someone who's done everything there is to do in marketing 3 times and back. And I know that, and I believe that from firsthand experience. You said, I'm not sure I'd go traditional agency route. Took me aback a little bit. Talk a little bit about evolution in that area, and where do you think advertising and careers in marketing overall are evolving right now?
Well, no doubt there's a lot of talent. I've got one employee right now that is about to leave at the end of this month to go work for Deutsch in LA, and I'm super excited for her, right? It's a little bit more of the traditional route. And that's really where she wants to focus, is being that, I'm going to call it a classical art director, with a copywriter team and working on big brands and things like that. Those agencies, the Deutsches of the world, the 72 and Sonnies, right? Those great agencies are going to continue to thrive. That great creative work is a need in marketing, because it's brand storytelling in a way that a lot of companies just don't know how and will never learn how to do it. And there's something about the urge to have, we talk about it, sells overnight, and then they say we're going to develop brand over time, but they never do, right? Yeah. That we live in such a convenience-based world that marketers today really want to have everything that's somehow attributed it to a sale that happens tomorrow, right? And so a lot of the marketing efforts, I feel, are directed that way. And some of that is absolutely needed, right, and warranted. But there has to be that balance, right? There has to be that tension. And so my comment about the traditional agency route is that I think those are becoming less and less of a focus and less, maybe not important in the general sense, but for certain brands, they're becoming less and less important because they don't see the value of true brand storytelling. Where a lot of brands, especially smaller S&B brands, they need storytelling. They need it through social. They need it through quick and prevalent content. And they need people who can think through how to tell that story, how to get it on brand and on message and on strategy and execute it. And that's a skill set that when we were going through school, just those were 4 different roles that
100%.
4 different people came together, and then they came up with a campaign together. Where now I see that there's more and more diversity in the mindset and skill set of students graduating, that they can. There's a lot out there that can do that, and I think that's pretty exciting. Just to be not that people aren't versatile thinkers that we've kind of come up through the careers with, but that there's maybe not the compartmentalization that happens at traditional agencies.
If you were to write a letter to your 18-year-old self, what would you say?
Would have taken floral design class. My niece is in it right now, and I'm like, that sounds so cool. That would have been a skill I could have used for the last, 20, 30 years. I would say there's a few classes that I wish I would have paid a little bit more attention to while I was in school. And some of them were just to help round out my business acumen. I feel like I was good in my design and creative classes, but I, wanted to round out, and it just took me some life skill, some life experiences to kind of learn some of those things that maybe could have put me ahead a little bit further. And I would have told myself to bet on myself more and take a few more risks. And I think personally, I would have probably done, this may be getting too in the weeds, but every designer, especially early on, is doing work. You're trying to make an extra buck on the side, little side hustles here and there. Yeah. A few of those I wish I would have just taken a % of equity or 0.5% versus whatever $1,000, $2,000 check I got, right?
Yeah.
For some of these small things. And I've got a great design friend up in Portland, and one of his pieces of advice that he gives a lot of people is sometimes you just do a project because it's a cool project to do, and with nothing in return. And there's definitely some of those that I'm glad I've done, and even more that I kind of wish I would have done, just because you realize you're either doing good for the person, or it's just a fun project to do, and the more we put ourselves out there, the more we kind of get exposed to, and the more that kind of connects us with different people, different things, different companies, that who knows what that can lead to down the road.
Mm-hmm. Final question, Brian, is as stellar as your accomplishments as a creative, as a leader of a company, as a mentor to literally 20, 30 of the best creatives that I know and could name right now, they track their genealogy back to you, so to speak. As amazing as you've been, and what a pleasure and privilege it's been to work with you in many creative situations, it's hard for me to think of you and not think the thing I love most about you is when I see you with your daughter. If you don't mind me asking, what has having a daughter with some special needs done to your life, for your life, changed your life?
I'm an emotional guy. You probably just saved that one for the end, right? Callie is amazing. She's about to graduate high school. You know, she's almost 18. She functions about like a 4 or 5 year old, cognitively and speech and even kind of fine motor skills and things like that. Callie, you know, she still runs out. She still gets excited when I come home each day, right? One of her favorite things to do in life is ride the bus to school. And there's obviously the compassion, the acceptance, the perspective that she constantly teaches everybody in the family, that everybody is going through struggles, that we can't see what's happening with anybody that we interact with on a daily basis. She teaches us that every day. But she also is a fine point on just embrace the little things. You know, there's so much great happiness around us on a daily basis. And social media, the news, the world sometimes just drowns that out with all the negativity. And she has her rough days for sure, and they challenge us hard. But there's no doubt the amount of joy and perspective and happiness that she brings in our lives that just, it grounds you. It just makes you realize that there's a lot of stuff that we worry about that we shouldn't worry about, and that, you know, her and her friends in her class, and their families, they're all going through a lot. But at the same time, they're some of the happiest, brightest people I know, and being around them is a joy. And I mean, for that, all of us, our whole entire family is just blessed by it, extremely blessed by it.
Thank you.
I didn't expect that question.
I didn't expect to ask it, but that's just, I can't think of you without thinking about what I've learned watching you interact with her over the years. And it's been pretty special for me to watch. But.
Yeah, she's special, and she's always up to do whatever, right? You know, it's kind of great. Santa's always going to be real. You know, she typically is really good about just going and running the dumbest errands with you, just to be with you. And she loves music, listening to music with me in the car with like the top down and stuff. I mean, just little things like that. And she's like, hey, I got a companion for life with this, you know, which is pretty awesome.
Brian, thank you so much.
Hey, thanks, Gary,
for being on the board and for giving me your time and talents.
Absolutely.
Thanks.
Happy to help.
Appreciate
Thanks for all you're doing here.
All right, man. Thanks.